Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Little impromptu. So let's talk, shall we? Aha, hold on. I knew something was wrong. There we go. I knew something was wrong. Now that works better. So here's the deal. I hope you saw the thumbnail, the lifeboat live. Odd. Really odd. Calls from Michigan, but I can't take the call right now. Hopefully, whoever that is calls me back. Hey, Nick, good to see you, brother. Glad that you're here. So the symbol that you saw on the thumbnail, that is the bat symbol from this point on. I'm going to be I'll be using that one when I'm going live impromptu, and when I am doing so, there we go. And when I'm doing so, sometimes I'll be doing this. I may not have a subject matter at all. It may be because I'm blowing an O-ring. It may be because I'm from time to time, I need to talk myself off the edge just like everybody else. Today is not one of those days, but that is a reality. If I throw up the bat symbol, just get over here if you can. I probably need you. I want to thank someone, and this is a phenomenon now that's starting to drive me nuts. All right, so we're going to implement a couple of rules here on the lifeboat because we're kind of getting to that size now where this is an issue. If you have a question that you really want me to answer while I'm doing a live feed, put the word question at the start of it. I still may miss you, but I'm a hell of a lot less likely to miss you. If you have a question, write question, and then afterwards, tell me what that question is. It should, in theory, keep me from missing a ton of questions, okay? Which I'd rather not do. That's one thing. Here's the other one, and this one's really getting me. The other one is that there's a lot of people. We're probably gaining 20 or 30 subscribers a day right now, which is just, this won't last. But while it does, let's have a good time with it, right? These are the kind of things that come in waves. And when you're on your Tommy Bird, good to see you. When we're on the wave and we're riding it up the good side of it, let's just have a great time. I honestly remember 3 months where we did not break a 100 subscriber position. We would go up 30 or 40, and then I would say something and piss some people off, and we'd come down 5 or 10, and then we'd go up 20, and then we'd come down 5 or 10, and it just went on like that for months. And you just have to keep showing up. It is so much more fun when there's a bunch of new people and you get to meet everybody, and it's fantastic. However, I don't know any of you. And people do really nice things and they send beautiful emails, and I don't know who they're from, and I have no connection whatsoever to the person who is in the hey, Carol, good to see you. I have no connection to who the person is, right? So in that vein, I got today, if you donate in the live chat, it's greatly appreciated. It really is. And it goes to a good cause. Then the big red button takes a percentage of it. When people go directly to PayPal, they do not. And these come in all the time. People donate that way. This morning, someone donated that way. And they even sent a little message, and they said, this is for Q, for the money that you're sending into Q. And they donated $100, which was really lovely. And I am going to absolutely send that to Q. I am throwing some money in myself, and I'm going to send it over there, and I'm going to, but I want every single person who donates to this, I would like those names to go with the money. If you wanted to do that anonymous, that's fine. Then drop me an email and tell me that it was you, but that you don't want anyone knowing, and that's fine. I'll respect that. But I want to know who did it, and I want to know who you are. I won't tell anybody if that's what you want, but please let me know who that is. I really, really appreciate that. And that's how I would like us to do it, because that way the big red button doesn't get any of money that is going to Q. When you pop up onto the first page of the lifeboat, you go over to where it says the About section. You hit About. It's going to take you directly over. It's going to say that we started the channel in 2020 or something. By the way, we didn't. I was in a halfway house. That's just when I first opened up my account here on YouTube. We started 2 years ago on the 31st. But I'm going to collect some funds for him. I'll probably give it 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days, and then I'm going to send something over. If you have a message you want to send over with it, then just email me the message to let's see, which email shall we send it to make it easier? Send it to CaptainTommyScoville@gmail.com. If it ends up on one of the other emails, I'm still going to find it. But to try to keep me halfway organized, if you could send it over to CaptainTommyScoville@gmail.com, that would be fantastic. Yeah. So that is very cool. It really is. I'm very, very happy. Very happy with the growth of the boat. I'm happy with the way that everything is going. Hello, everyone on the lifeboat. Just got home from work. Hope everyone's having a great day. Mind Games. We hope you are too. By the way, if you get one of the prizes that you won on trivia night a couple of weeks ago, you need to film yourself, especially if it's the one that burns. You need to film yourself on that. Just saying. That's okay. V, listening mode is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with popping in and just listening. I think that's probably a pretty cool thing. It's pretty amazing, really, Tommy Bird. It is pretty amazing that we are where we're at right now. We've been absolutely 100% blessed. You know what? If you think that Aaron is having us over on his channel as often as he is, so that he can get tons of views out of this, then you're missing the real nuances and sort of the inner workings of Aaron. He really likes the mission. He likes the cause of what we're doing here, and I think one of the reasons that we're over there is because he realizes that each time we go on over there that it does wonders for our audience base. And because of the fact that the audience does seem to like when I visit over there, we do pretty well. And he's going to continue to have us on in sort of an incremental kind of a way, which in theory for a while should keep a good growth going, which is awesome, which really is. It's awesome. And unlike, I've gone on other people's channels before, and you get, if you get an 80-20 response, that's fantastic. If 8 out of 10 people dig you, especially because you're going onto the channel of somebody else, right? You're invading somebody's personal space. The people go there because they want to see Aaron. And but we've been really fortunate. We get very, very few negative comments. We get some, but we get very, very few of them. There are people who just like calling me a convict, and that's always going to be that way. There's always 1 or 2 people that want to fire off about the fact that I'm a bank robber or whatever. Nothing that's going to hurt my feelings, people, and I'm being really honest about that. There are things in this life that I have come to be comfortable with, and one of them is my past. It is what it is, and there's nothing in my past that is going to cause me to feel guilt at this juncture. I've dealt with all of the guilt. I am a firm believer of the fact that if you do it right, it is not a lifetime. It is not a lifetime activity. I have been very blessed in that I had a crap load to feel guilty about. And one of the exercises that I did in the process of getting sober, it seemed like a really good time. We had been put on lockdown, and I got what's called a kite. And in prison, that is a really itty bitty small piece of paper written on very, very small that is passed from cell to cell or from inmate to inmate for correspondence that you don't want people to see. And it was from Q, and he basically just said, this would be a hell of a time to go through all of those things that you feel guilty about. He knew we were looking at 5 or 6 months of being trapped in a cell with no hope whatsoever of getting out of it. It was just going to be a very long lockdown. As it turned out, it was only about 3, I think, but it did give me a lot of time to work on that. And I do not allow guilt to rent space in my head anymore. I did a lot of really awful things. Probably landslides more than everybody that's listening to the sound of my voice. Probably nothing. I did way more damage than people listening to the sound of my voice. The number of lives that I destroyed, the number of people who I led down paths that the ripples went in the wrong direction, and the damage that was done in the first 46 years of my life, those ripples are still going out. And much like what happens when we get somebody sober, or much like what happens when we save somebody's life here on the lifeboat and the ripples go on for an eternity, so do the bad ones. I'm doing everything within I can, within my power, everything that I can to try to make sure that we crank out a lot of good ones, a lot of ones in the opposite direction. Yeah. But as far as the guilt thing, so the people over there that have a good time telling me I'm a convict, man, knock yourself out. Telling me I was a reprehensible person, man, knock yourself out. I am completely over the guilt of any of those things. I was not the person who was at the helm. Happy Puffin, spoken like a true convict. I don't know if you did any time, but that's that is a prison expression right there. He says, better a convict than an inmate. That is it. Calling somebody an inmate in prison is an insult. Calling somebody a convict in prison is a compliment. If somebody says, so-and-so just came in, we got a guy named Dan coming in. Yeah, anybody know him? Yeah, so-and-so does. What do they say? Dude's a solid convict. That's the highest praise that you're ever going to give anybody in prison, because it means a hell of a lot. A solid convict means that your word is your word. People can trust you from day one. If somebody vouches for you in prison, it's not like somebody on the street saying, oh yeah, that's Dan. Good dude. Known him since college. You got nothing to worry about with Dan. It's not like that. In prison, when a guy goes, yeah, man, he's a convict. If that guy walks in day one off the street and comes in and says, hey, I'm trying to get a radio, I'm trying to get this, he can go to the store, man, and put out a list of $135 worth of shopping. There's a guy in prison who runs a store. He has everything that you could buy at the regular store, he has in his cell or in a couple of people's cells. And you can buy them. And if you get, you want a bag of chips, you get 2 bags of chips. When you're done, you owe him 3. And that's how he makes his money and his hustle. And some of the guys that can't go to store next week to buy from him buy in stamps. So they come in with stamps and say, oh, here's $6 in stamps. I want 2 candy bars or whatever. It's a person's hustle. But when someone is a convict, when they walk through the front door and there's a person there to vouch for them, yeah, dude's a solid convict. He could buy drugs on credit. He can buy anything in the place on credit. He has a convict American Express card, and no one's going to give him any crap about getting anything. It's very high praise. It may sound like a silly way to praise somebody, but it means they pay their bills. It means that if you're in trouble, they're not going to run. They'll fight with you, that kind of a thing. Really a pretty bizarre environment, but yeah, spoken like a convict, and it is better to be a convict than an inmate. Rip Curl Readiness, good to see you, Rip. So look, nobody has chimed in. What did you think of the LBL Lifeboat Live symbol that has been put up this time? The new bat symbol. It's going to be used when there is no subject matter at hand. This is the symbol that is going to be used when I'm just going to come on here and I'm going to talk. And again, there's a lot of reasons that I do that. I really wanted I really want everybody sending me an email to let me know who they are. This is huge, man. Please, this is huge. I'm an elderly grandma who once taught in a level 4. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Happy Puffin is a elderly grandma who once taught in a level 4 prison. That ain't no joke, Grandma. That's a tough place to teach. My hat is off to you. Tommy Bird says, yeah, that works for me. I enjoy conversations. Well, you know what? If you see the bat symbol, if you look up and it says LBL, right, whatever, there's a really good chance if you don't have the live chat on, it's going to be a lot less entertaining, because I'm probably going to be talking with the people in the crowd quite a bit. On top of that, I'm also going to be usually making announcements of some kind. For all of you who reached out and said you wanted to send something to Q, please don't do it through Super Chat. Don't do it through any of those. They're going to take a percentage. Go directly to the Lifeboat PayPal. You can go through the very first page, go all the way over to the right where it says About. That will be where that's where the PayPal link is. And if you want to send anything, I intend to get it off to him next week. It's funny. It's funny. We're actually going to be coming up on the anniversary of when I started to try to get sober. I was clean. I was off chemicals when I met Q. When I first came across Q, I had been clean, and not because I really wanted to be clean. I was the high school teacher at night at a level 4. I would imagine that you've got a couple of good stories. Level 4 yards aren't any joke. You know what though? I would imagine you were also treated with a tremendous amount of respect. The convicts really pride themselves. You'd be surprised. In movies, you see, women walk in and guys are catcalling them and yelling stuff. At the lower levels, people can get away with that crap. If you, at least in the federal system, if you do that on a level 4 yard, you're signing some really bad warrants. Like the things that will happen to you. You're expected to treat women with a level of respect. There is something that happens, and it's I think I've probably talked about it on the boat before. There are gentlemen who try to satisfy themselves while people can see them. Did you get me on that? These are people that, we're all big boys and girls here. There literally is a phenomenon of people that want to masturbate while they get caught by a female nurse, a female guard, a female warden, whatever the case may be. This happens so often that there's a name for it, and they call those guys gunners, right? And I remember when I went to the special management unit, there was a cop that we knew there, and the cop got in trouble. Apparently, he had done something to an inmate and hit him with a nightstick. He did something to an inmate he wasn't supposed to, and it wasn't vile enough to get fired, but he was in trouble. And so we didn't see him. And the rumor was that he had been fired, and everyone was kind of bummed out because he was one of the nicer cops. And I don't mean nicer as in he would treat you kindly. I mean, he was funny and he'd have a conversation. If you screwed up, this man was going to beat you like a piñata. He was into it. But I got along great with the guy and had a lot of laughs. And so one day he comes back, and it had been literally months. And we were like, where the hell have you been? His last name was Hess. We said, Hess, you handsome bastard, where have you been? And he had got sent over to G Block. And G Block, believe it or not, it's 3 tiers. It's 3 cell blocks, one right on top of the other. This is a very old prison. Lewisburg is where the movie Goodfellas, that's where they were in Lewisburg in the movie, right? When they all went to prison in Goodfellas. Very, very old prison. And it was the gangster prison. It's where every mobster that ever lived got sent. But G Block, and I don't know whether they did this for the alliteration of it, right? G as in gunner, but that was the block for people who had been caught doing that. You get caught doing that once, they were sending you to the special management unit. But that was a new rule. And there were guys in there, believe it or not, who had been caught for it 50 and 60 times. The feds finally woke up and made it so that if a person does it, they have to register as a sex offender, which is probably something they should have done very early on in the game. I don't know that it's going to stop a ton of people, but I think they should probably have to register anyway. But there are certain races that don't get caught for it, period. And it's not because, in my opinion anyway, it's not because there aren't the same number of weirdos in that particular race. The difference is how that race polices itself. So if you get caught, never had that problem, thank Xenu, right? Good for you. I'm glad that you didn't, but no, if it happened in the white car, they kill the guy. Like that's an offense that green lights you that can literally get you killed because it is just not done. The white race in prison has a thing about respect for women, especially at the higher custody levels. You treat a female guard, you treat a female anything. You act like a creep, you will be gone, and you will be gone in a very unpleasant way. Thank Xenu. I am not going to allow this to stand anymore. We are going to address the thank Xenu thing. Simply put, I can't have it, and I'll tell you why. Because I heard out of old L. Ron Hubbard's mouth himself which, by the way, is an adventure if you've never listened to L. Ron Hubbard speak. Well, you just don't know what you're missing. Talk about dynamic. This man can BS with the best of them. However, you will absolutely know it's BS. The people in the room might not, because they've been there a long time and there's some indoctrination that's going on. It is one of the most fascinating things. And I know that this is not, but look, this isn't a purely a rehab show. This is the bat symbol. We can talk about whatever we want today. But so the Xenu thing, for those who don't know, that is when you get to a high enough level in Scientology, the OT levels, you are going to start to learn that the galactic overlord of the overlord of the Galactic Confederation, Xenu, was the one that captured all of the souls or captured all the people and brought them down and threw them in volcanoes, and then touched hydrogen bombs on top of them, blew them all up into the soul catchers in the sky that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. But it's also the stuff of really great jokes. They make a lot of Xenu jokes on South Park. And it is the rumor of the Xenu thing has done very serious damage to the church. And for the longest time, the church says there's no truth to the Xenu thing, right? That's something that the press made up. Well, I got a clip. It's an entire lecture done by L. Ron Hubbard. And in this lecture, he tells the Xenu story. Right. So he's telling all of these people who have been indoctrinated for a really long time, right? They had to go clear it. They had to go through all of the lower levels, and do all of that before they were able to hear the story. However, he spells it. He talks about the evil Xemu, but he says XEM as in Mary, you. He most assuredly says it and spells it. So Xenu, I don't know how this came to be, but it is Xemu, according to the man himself. And of course, by the man himself, I mean Captain Halitosis. That cat didn't do a whole lot for his grill. I don't know if you ever seen any pictures. Yeah, I agree. Let's not have that. I'll thank the captain, and I'll thank you guys, and I'll thank God and praise Jesus, and that's going to be it. Okay, well then. Sounds like a good thing to me. He says, I don't know much about it. Tom Cruise is making a movie. All very interesting. Well, I took the IQ test years ago. Really? Well, as you know, they can raise your IQ, but it is Xemu to be sure. And at some point, I may want to do a reaction video to this audio tape of L. Ron Hubbard, and I don't know, maybe it might be better for me to do it over on Aaron's channel, but I would consider doing it here, and I'll tell you why. No, Mr. Ray, that's funny, but the people will know before you get there if that's what you're in there for. It's pretty easy to look up. Well, you know what? Good question, right? Goosebumps says, Swiss, do you go by a different name on Facebook? Everybody goes by a different name on Facebook. Everybody goes by a different name on Facebook. Everybody goes on a different name on their emails. Everybody goes by a different name on YouTube. And then you guys send me these fantastic emails, and I have no idea who I'm responding to. In some cases, I don't even know if I'm responding to a man or a woman, and it makes me feel like a blithering idiot. So you guys got to really start helping me out. Hey, Tommy, this is so-and-so. I go by the name of, so-and-so. Carousel Delirium, I will reach out to you later today when I am not live on this, and I will check that out. What are we talking about, says Pieces. Well, I don't have any idea. What are we talking about? I was talking about an audio recording that I had come across of L. Ron Hubbard talking about the Galactic Overlord, Xemu. And I kind of want to do a reaction video of it here on I'd kind of like to go and do a reaction video on it here on the Lifeboat, or maybe over on Aaron's channel, or maybe we'll broadcast onto both of them. Because the reason that I want to do it here is forget all of the voodoo. Forget the fact that he's telling you about this. What I want people to listen to is this. There are a lot of people on the boat who we'll just use some names that I would never use outside the boat, but we are who we are, and I'm not going to offend anyone here, but I wouldn't say this in public. But you ever been with somebody that's really tweaking and acting full on like a tweaker? Have you ever heard one of those tweakers that gets on a lie and you can hear him making it up as he goes along, right down to the pausing and and then doubling back, saying something, realizing they screw it up and having to say something bizarre to fix it? This is what this entire Zimu story is. He sounds so wasted to me. And I know, like, I've only played this for one other person that is not. I've sent this off to like 5 or 6 people who are all normies, and then I sent it off to 2 people that are in recovery. And in both cases, people said to me, dude, he is wasted. And I said, thank you. That is what I have been saying. But I do want to do a reaction video on it. I don't know whether or not I'm going to be able to do it here, or whether or not it probably makes more sense to do it on Aaron's channel. See, parts of this thing are very much him just telling a story, right? And you'll be able to pick it apart as just the intelligent crew members of the lifeboat that you are. You need bring nothing to the party but your knowledge of drugs, addiction. Look, I'll be really honest with you. And I'm not being arrogant or anything else. I'm talking about just sheer time. But you take anybody on the lifeboat, anybody that's been on the boat for any length of time, and start quizzing them about the mechanics of addiction and what causes it and everything else. There's nobody on the boat that couldn't tell you as much about it as I can. I can see where you were coming from. I never heard that particular Lafayette Ronald Hubbard recording, but I am totally tracking and can see why you are taking the stance on Zimu that you are. Thank you, Carol. Here's the thing on that as well. A net full of pieces. There you go. Thank you, Pieces. One of the reasons that the other reasons it truthfully is fascinating. So this particular recording was done on the boat, the Apollo, and it was done in October of 1968. And it is really pretty wild to listen to. Just from a drug standpoint, I think it will fascinate everybody on the boat. From the other side of the equation, for the people who are fascinated by the cult aspect of it, I'll tell you why this has become such a thing for me. Aaron didn't reach out to me; I reached out to him, and I didn't just happen to randomly pick a Scientology show to reach out to. I'd been watching his show for a really long time, and if you saw the last time that the two of us were on, there is hard stone fact that he and I were both best friends with the same person, which is bizarre, right? Because it's kind of a small world. We didn't just know this person. Both of us spent a crap load of time with this person, right? We both really know this person. We know his wife. We know his life story. Like, we know him. But I think the very first time that I told Aaron that, I think he may have thought maybe I was name dropping for, so that I could try to, it was an entree to the conversation with Aaron. But then I came across a clip of film of me and this guy together, right, in a project that we did. It was something that we had done for television, and so I sent that over to Aaron, and I think that it was probably one of those moments where he was like, "Oh, holy crap, he really knows him," and not only did he was seeing his friend years ago, because this guy has like very white hair, and when I knew him, he had full head of dark black hair, as often happens. Somehow this guy got old. Isn't it funny how you always look at other people and you go, "Oh man, dude, you got old." I know I no longer say things like that. I don't even say it about like actors and rock stars anymore because it occurs to me that somewhere there's somebody looking at like the first video that I ever did and now looking at me now a couple of years later going, "Damn, he aged," right? So just don't. I figure I will. I won't do it to anyone else, so maybe I'll get lucky and no one will be doing it to me. Anik Alexander, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Anunnaki Child, glad that you are here. Do you know that Anunnaki Child was the 5,000th subscriber on the Lifeboat? This is a true story. Anunnaki Child hit 5,000. That was the ticker that dropped to the other side. By the way, do you have any idea how often you get kicked off of every single thing that you subscribe to? Every once in a while, check and see if you're subscribed on all. Now I'm just talking about the Lifeboat, but on all of the channels that you dig. You go over to Hangout, look to see if you're subscribed. They boot you off of things constantly. I found out yesterday that I had been knocked off of growing up in Scientology. So the reason that I was so fascinated by Aaron's channel, the reason I was so fascinated by the entire thing is because of the fact that the people, you know, I hear cold-hearted individuals on a regular basis. If the hat fits, wear it. On a pretty regular basis, I spend a lot of time thinking and hearing. You hear people say stuff like, you know, how stupid do you have to be to believe that stuff, to get into a cult, to do that. And that really, believe it or not, was the driving force that got me looking at cults across the board. I didn't randomly pick Scientology. I've spent a lot of time looking at a lot of different cults. It's something that I find fascinating. And the reason is, in my mind, the people who do end up in a cult do so for the same reason that we end up addicted to drugs. I think that those two things run parallel. I have tinfoil socks. Good for you. Good for you. I mean, it's not total commitment. I'll be really honest with you, Annette. I went for the full body suit. You know what I mean? Like a onesie. My tinfoil has little feeties in them and the whole shooting match because I am a believer. I am a believer. I have drank the Kool-Aid. Love you heaps, Tommy. Stay cool. You should be president of the USA. Oh, boy. Do you know the fun the press would have going through my background? They'd be like, we started diving through his background. We went 6 years back. We don't have to go any further. Like this guy's, right? We didn't even get into the last century. It wasn't necessary. I've been studying cults, scammers, and narcissist abuse for years. Anik, fascinating. I love it. So was it a bunny suit, Tommy? So here's my question. Do you agree then? Do you agree then that it's the same thing that leads people down the path of? I believe that the reason that people end up in cults and in those kind of sometimes even abusive narcissist situations, it seems to me that this is people that everybody. Thank you, V. V says if I run, she's going to vote for me. Thank you. Got to go. My daughter Eleanor needs her dad. Go. Get out of here. Get out of here. Go take care of her. God bless you. Vape, I love you. You know what, people? We'll wait for him to disappear. One of the greatest clips of film in the history of this channel was working one-on-one with Swiss Vape Live. And I wasn't intending to. It wasn't by design. But Swiss Vape's been through some really heavy stuff. He's been through combat. He has PTSD. He was addicted to a lot of substances. And I'm not talking about him behind his back. He came on here and told the story. But he started going down this what looked like a death spiral. Like you could watch his expression. You could watch the color in his skin. You could watch him circle in the drain. He was really, really having a hard time. And I just said sort of offhand, I said, and we had been talking about it the day before, about how your brain you're not going to have two thoughts taking place in the same thing at the same time, right? Two things can't occupy the same spot at the same time. If I want to put my cup of coffee where the participation trophy is, I'm obviously going to have to move those. And it is the exact same thing inside the brain, right? You're going to have to move the thought that you're working on to put something else in. And I said to Swiss Vape, I said, hey, how's that daughter of yours? And on film, there is a 3-second transition that is just absolutely magical. He just explodes in love. And it's one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen. You could watch this man going from the death spiral to the happiest person in the whole world. And it was such a great example of what the power of a happy place is. The power, and it's the power of having a tool bag full of things that you can do to pull yourself out of really bad situations when you feel like the ship is about to hit the sand, when you feel like you are at your wit's end and you want to absolutely kill something. Then you need to clear everything that you got in your mind and replace it with something else. Right? Makes a tremendous amount of sense, doesn't it? So the L. Ron Hubbard thing. You know what, people? I don't ever want to hijack the lifeboat. There really is. I really would love to hear all of your opinions. You can absolutely go over to Aaron's channel and give me your opinion over there, if you'd rather that we do it that way. But I think that there needs to be a reaction video done to this. I want to hear your opinions. One of the things that makes it a little bit difficult is he goes into, do you have that clipped as a short at the lifeboat? Sounds inspirational. Do I have, oh, you talking about, do I have, no, I don't have anything as a short. I'm not smart. Goosebumps. People, let me explain this really quickly because I think sometimes people think I'm joking. Let me give you a little bit of background, just a little bit of background. The guy that I was talking about, who I was best friends with, who was also best friends with Aaron, that gentleman and I did an internet deal when there was nobody on the internet. We used to go to an internet cafe in LA, right? And like they had internet cafes, people. The internet was so brand new. They still had internet cafes all over the place. And it was a big thing to go down there and surf the web and look at this. You type in football, there are 800,000 websites. Can you believe this crap? And everybody was just, the internet was flaming hot. And I was kind of on the cutting edge of it. So was his friend, who we will call his friend. So Aaron's friend and I were, and we made a lot of money. But the device that we were surfing the internet through was basically a device for idiots. It was not a computer. It was nothing like that. It was a dedicated internet surfing device, like a surfboard kind of thing. So anyway, when that went out of, when that company, we got in trouble with the Federal Trade Commission, not because of anything we did, but because of something the manufacturer did. The manufacturer got shut down from us. Not, we didn't, our supplier did. But so that was the end of that. And then I started getting into other businesses, and I did about 3 more with that same cat, by the way. I started making infomercials and doing some other things. But I didn't spend a lot of time on computers, and I didn't spend a lot of time on the internet. I spent a lot of time in the front of the room. We had a division of labor that was like bulletproof. You only did what you were good at. And I spoke. That's what I did. Sadly, then I went to prison for about a decade, and I went while all of this technology was just jumping, right? I've been to prison 3 times. I spent too much of my life away from this thing. I can't do any of the things you people think a normal YouTuber can do. I wonder why Tommy never made shorts out of any of these things, because I couldn't figure that out if I absolutely had to. I just couldn't. It's not my wheelhouse. It's not my bailiwick, unfortunately. I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to delegate this to some people. I'm working with a girl right now that I have a lot of hope for. And yes, about the radar, especially for people who didn't have strong male role models. There you go. I really would love to hear what everybody says. It wasn't just slow. It would crash every week. And I got to know the service techs by name. Ouch. Thank you. So, yeah, but I'm not a YouTuber, people. Man, do not get it messed up. I'm not a YouTuber. I mean, look at my brother. My brother is a very successful individual on YouTube. By YouTube standards, he's doing fantastic, right? He's got his silver play button. He's got some incredible things in the works that are going to come out in the next couple of months. He's not a good YouTuber. He's better at it than I am considerably, but we're just not good at it. The technology end of these things are just, I am I am really intimidated by a great deal of what it means to be a YouTuber. They were discussing who is vulnerable to cults, drugs, etc. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, there are so many similarities between people in cults and people on drugs, and getting people out of an abusive relationship, a cult kind of a situation, anything where you're trying to get somebody out of something that either, I mean, you get a form of Stockholm syndrome, right? Oh, I wish I could remember the quote from Anchorman. Stockholm syndrome, which of course is named after Stockholm in Belgium, something along those lines. Peace to the family. I've been Ubering, so I've missed the boat. My brother, you have never missed the boat. Ever. You may not be on a live from time to time, but you're too much of a part of this thing to miss the boat. I mean that. I always look forward to your knowledge. Full of hope. Good to see you. Anunnaki Child says, yes, my dad was a meth cook. Wasn't around much of my life, usually in jail. But when he was passing meth pipe to his 14-year-old, oh my God. Thank God I never really liked it. Man, I can't tell you how much that hurts my heart. Honest to God, it just hurts my heart. And here's the thing. This is important as hell to me. And I don't know why, but this is important as hell to me. That's a dumb thing to do to a 14-year-old, right? Dumb thing to do. For a dad who's cooking meth to be sharing it with a 14-year-old, first of all, for a dad to be cooking meth, but to share it with a 14-year-old is the most irresponsible, stupid. That, however, does not mean that that man didn't love you. That sounds crazy coming out of my mouth, doesn't it? But here's the deal. I've known people whose fathers were drug dealers or cooks, whose grandfathers did the same thing. And yeah, I know a guy whose father gave him an ounce of methamphetamine as a graduation gift. Somebody that I met through the boat, one of a crew member in the first season, that said that was his graduation gift. I said, you graduated from high school and got an ounce of meth? He said, I graduated from middle school and got an ounce of meth. The incredible thing is the father has gotten into sobriety as well. After the fact, the son got sober first. And dad loves his son. You understand that sometimes you're so clouded in a particular life that, well, I remember the first time my dad shared a bowl with me, right? I remember the first time dad laid out a line and handed me the straw. And boy, I just thought I was the king of the world, right? Bizarre? Maybe not so bizarre. Could you say the same thing about a beer? I remember the first time my dad had a drink with me. I do. I remember the first time I had a drink with my father. And it was never a thing. I mean, it was a thing his entire life, but it was never a thing. In all of the time that my dad was alive, I think I can say there were twice maybe that I remember seeing him intoxicated. Like he drank. He drank at parties. He drank at dinners. But it was never like he drank, 3 or 4 nights in a row. He just didn't. Meth does make you delusional. Boy, are you right, my brother. And I have to say that because it says Jennifer Rice. And I don't want the new people to think that I'm actually talking to someone named Jennifer. See, that's not Jennifer Rice. That is our foremost authority on all things. And I do mean all things. Health, homeopathic, very, very up to snuff on the body and how it reacts to things. And one of my favorite people, but likes to fly under the radar. So from time to time, we just have to call him Jennifer. I thought I would throw out, that's really my brother, so that you would know that, maybe it wasn't really a Jennifer. Yes, the beer thing was bad with my ex and my dad. For some people, that's their poison. See, Full of Hope knows who it is. See, I wasn't going to pull his covers, but Full of Hope knows who it is. Right? She doesn't think Jennifer Rice is Jennifer. Thinks it might be Chris. She's pretty smart, though, so. Full of Hope, my small Irish lass, says Mind Game 60. Virginia, good to see you. Chris says, Jennifer Rice says, love you back, Full of Hope. Could have been Chris. Could have been. My father was a Jekyll and Hyde drunk, really mean and controlling, so out of control, but he was also a military officer, pilot, then company executive, very charismatic. You know, I am so sorry to hear that it was one of those Jekyll and Hyde things that happen a lot in addiction. They really do. All right, people, hold on. Did someone time how many seconds this is taking? I have bad luck with the number 15. Did that take more than 15 seconds? Where's my old bobbleheaded partner when I need him? Actually, there's tons of lifeboaters who got that. It's not what it looks like. All right. What did I miss? Hold on one second. What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? Fast life, fast women, fast cars. He was a good dude. Rest in peace. But damn, made it hard for me and my three brothers. At 15, was in high-speed chase with cops on back of my dad's bike. Oh, wow. See, you know what's... I remember once one of the... I'll tell you about one of the low points in my life. And I know Spanx Calhoun doesn't remember this, like has no memory of this. I'm sure I made a game out of it or something along those lines. But I remember riding and I had 2 kids in my car and I passed a cop and I knew I had an open warrant and I don't know what the hell I did, but I passed a cop and as we were going, I was around a very tight corner by the house that I used to live at in Reno. And it's a very tight corner. And as I'm going around the corner, so you kind of got to go slow. Like we made eye contact. This cop looked directly at me. And then I saw him jam on the brakes instead to do a U-turn. And I did the same thing, except I punched it. Like I got it going really fast. And I just looked at the kids and said, hold on. And I pulled the e-brake. I was in a front wheel drive Honda and sort of did like a 180 and just started smoking in the other direction. So the cop passes me again and you see his head turn around. He didn't do as good a job turning around as I did, but I drove like a bat out of hell and I did it in neighborhoods. I didn't get on a freeway or anything like that. So I'm driving maybe only 40 miles an hour, but I'm driving 40 miles an hour on roads that you shouldn't be going 20 on. And I remember calling from the cell phone to Mama Scoville and saying, open the garage door, right? He just opened the garage door. I need to hide my car. And I just remember the look on my mother's face. Like I went in and I had my son with me and of course I'm playing it off to them. I'm like, look how fast we got to mom's house and everything. They're no clue that dad and uncle, and Uncle Tommy are just a degenerate. But that's just one of those things that I remember. And it was a low point. It really was. Brandon is still sober. People, there is a damn fine chance that this evening we're going to be doing an interview with Mr. Brandon Calloway. So it's a good thing he's sober because as a rule of thumb, this isn't etched in stone, but I do try to not do interviews with people who are intoxicated. I'll talk to somebody, but I don't like scheduling a 1-hour thing. Sometimes it's a trigger to listen to somebody slur, or it's a trigger to listen to somebody, talk super, super fast, or any of the affectations that we get from the drugs that we do. My mom did a run from the police thing with me in the car. She wasn't on anything. Just bat crap crazy, says Valerie. Valerie, do you feel better today than you did? How do you feel now about going to see your new doctor? That is going on a sticky right now. Don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. That is, I don't know who said that, but I love it. That's good stuff. Yeah, so we're going to be hoping to have Brandon on this evening for a second interview. If you saw the first time that we did an interview with Brandon, we really covered just the early parts of his life. It was in kind of ran out of time. So this time I anticipate covering some of the more recent times in his life and his journey with sobriety. That is why you probably saw a thumbnail from Heather Joy go up and then come back down. I did not communicate well to her that I was doing that tonight, so I saw the thumbnail and had to reach out and say, "Can you take that down? We're going to be interviewing Brandon today." I knew a kid in high school who got big into crystal. That ages me, right? I saw him 10 years later, and it had literally fried his brain and changed who he was from the guy I knew. It was so sad. I want to tell you something, people. This is a phenomenon that is a huge thing. Drugs decimating the people that we love has probably touched the lives of every single person who's listening to the sound of my voice. I've told the story on here before, and you know what? I hesitate to tell the story again because the odds, this is one of those individuals that stands in a chance of coming across my channel just because of the world that we live in. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it anyway. I knew a girl who was, she had actually been a bikini model for Hawaiian Tropic. She was a Miss Hawaiian Tropic girl and also had a talented career outside of that. I won't tell you what the career was because that would definitely identify her, but she was a professional. She had a good paying job as a kind of like a tech kind of a thing in the medical community. Won't get into more of that, but and she was very, very attractive. She was really a beautiful girl. Sadly, she had kind of struggled with weight, so she would go from a size nothing bikini model to like a plus size model, and I think it messed with her head. The sad thing is, this girl was as beautiful, if not more beautiful, with a little meat on her bones than she was when she was, doing the swimsuit thing. But she was one of the people who testified against me when I went to prison the first time. She testified that she saw, I don't remember exactly what, banded money from a bank I robbed or something. She saw a crap pile of cash or something at my house, and that was her only testimony. I don't think she wanted to testify against me. She had come up and apologized about it afterwards. They harassed her at her place of work. It was an ugly scene. And they kind of tried to paint us as a boyfriend and girlfriend kind of thing when the investigation was going on. And we had gone literally on one date ever. And it didn't work out very well. To make a long story short, I got out of prison and I was driving. This was the last time, not this time. I got out of prison and I had a convertible Mercedes AMG, cool little car, and I was driving it around. And this girl came running up and was like, "Hey, Tommy." And I looked at her and I was like, "Yeah, how you doing?" And she's like, "Man, I've been wanting to have this conversation for so long, and I've thought about it so many times. I just don't know what to say." I said, "Who the hell are you?" Right? Like, I don't know who you are. What do you want from me? When she told me who she was, I would not have been able to pick her out of a lineup. I had no clue. She had picked at her face here on the sides, thinking that there was stuff there. It's an affectation of doing way too much meth. Sometimes you hear it described a million ways. Well, there was just a blackhead they were trying to get, or there was just a pimple they wanted to get, or the crystal was actually turning back into crystal and coming out of their skin, and they're trying to dig pieces of crystal meth out of their skin. Sometimes it's bugs. Sometimes it's broken pieces of glass. Something got under their skin, but it's always the same thing, and they tear themselves up so badly. It was one of those things that it's not right. Anunnaki Child says curves are definitely better. If it doesn't bounce or shake, you're playing with the wrong toys. Oh, well, that's just absolutely great. But seeing what these drugs can do to people, the saddest part of her transformation was not even her looks. The worst part of her transformation was what it did to her mind. one day she called me and she wanted a ride. They had basically gotten rid of their car. They had gotten rid of everything. And the meth pox, well done. That's a great way to put it. But I went down to give her a ride, and she got in the car, and her mind was fried. Like, her mind was fried. And she was trying to buy a little bit of dope that I had, and propositioned me, to try to get more drugs by doing a sex act, so to speak. But as she's having this conversation with me, where the Star Trek picture is where her boyfriend of 7 years was standing, which was really just, I don't know, the whole thing. Meth bugs, Tommy Bird. That's how I know it more, was meth bugs. That's a term that you hear a lot. So yeah, that's the one that I always got, was the meth bugs. And they just, it's awful. You see people tear their skin away. You see people go, like, down to the bone. I knew another person who struggled with meth, but they would take like 5 or 6 hairs and twist them together and pull them out. And it got to the point where this person was almost bald. See, V agrees. It says, yeah, Tommy Bird, they thought that bugs were in their skin. Full of Hope says, so awful, so sad. It really is so awful and so sad. But the girl that I was just talking about, I had told my wife at the time, who was, I mean, whatever you could say about my wife looked like a supermodel. My last wife, the attorney, was absolutely stunning, just a beautiful, beautiful person physically. But I remember telling her the story, and when I introduced her the first time to the Miss Hawaiian Tropic girl, she said to me, that girl was never a Miss Hawaiian Tropic model. I don't care what you say. And about 2 or 3 times, because this girl's husband started dealing, or boyfriend or whatever, started dealing dope for a little while. So my previous wife and I would drive over there quite often. And then one day while I was over there, she said, oh, I found a picture that you're in. You're going to die. I said, all right. And she took out a picture of me and her and about 5 other people when we had gone out to Lake Tahoe, the early days of their addiction, when all of them still looked somewhat normal. And but she was out there standing with a bunch of us, and she just had on a pair of sunglasses and a bikini, and she had her hands up and was happy as hell. It was like a snapshot of a different world, a different time, a different human. But when we got in the car, my ex-wife said to me, good Lord, what did she do to herself? And I said, yeah, it's just... But it happens all the time. Good for you, Nick, man. Good for you. And Jennifer Rice, who of course is not Jennifer Rice, says, hey, Monk, you may not know this if you're new to the boat, but when I see Monk, I pretty much have to say, Monk, 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 Monk. Comes from a story from long, long ago, but I actually have said that somewhere on tape. Said monk, 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 monk. Got it on a recording. I'm still looking for it. Where is that monk tape? I'm telling you right now, Full of Hope, there are 4 boxes I need to go through, and I know it's in one of them. 5-gallon pails full of scat with having nothing else to go on, JD. That is just a funny thing to read the very first time. Yeah, Full of Hope. I'll be really honest with you, Carousel Delirium. Full of Hope does this to me a lot. She has on the same frequency, and when we do, it's odd. Dermatillomania. Goosebumps says, dermatillomania, skin picking disorder. I have that. Oh, God, if you have that, you've got to stay away from methamphetamine. 10 gallons in a 5-gallon bucket. Sure. That's one I am familiar with. The principle of trying to put 25 pounds of nyat into a 10-pound nyat receptacle. Scroll up on the chat to see the hair. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Trichotillomania. See that? Carousel Delirium was kind enough to spell that out for me in some form of phonetic that It's so easy. A Scoville can do it. Because I'll tell you something, the caveman people got absolutely nothing on the Scovilles. So, of the many things tragic and insidious things about meth, after that first insanely incredible high, you can never get that again. That part of the brain where that was generated is obliterated. Carol, very interesting, because there really is some truth to this. There really is truth to this. Here's the phenomenon that she's talking about. We've talked about meth many times on the boat and what meth does to the body, because it is a very, very unusual drug in that the vast majority, almost every single thing that happens to you from your brain releasing all of the feel-good chemicals that are just hanging out in your brain waiting to go. And I realize it's the same for most drugs, but not anywhere near the same degree. So if you smoke a cigarette or you hit a vape pen, right? You go from baseline to baseline times 2, right? Your dopamine level is multiplied by 2, one puff of nicotine. In a matter of seconds, my dopamine level gets multiplied by 2. Okay. If you're doing something like heroin, that level gets multiplied by a much higher number, right? It's like a 6 or a 5 or a 6. It's much, much more. Meth and any type of MDMA fudge the chemicals in your brain badly, says Carousel Delirium. That's because the MA in MDMA is methamphetamine, right? Methyldioxymethamphetamine, the backbone of ecstasy, or what the younger generation calls Molly. If it makes you feel better, kids, call it Molly. But MDMA, I mean, half of that drug is absolutely methamphetamine. And half of all of the designer knockoffs that aren't really methyldioxymethamphetamine, but are some form of, they're all a methyl-based drug. They're all methamphetamine base with other stuff thrown in on the top. Question, is fentanyl put in weed? I'm going to get back to what I was just talking about, but I want to answer this. Is fentanyl put in weed? My stepson in the UK has had a psychotic bouts after only smoking weed. We don't know if that's even possible. We think he's probably doing other things. He can have a psychotic bout after only smoking weed. That is possible. It is far more likely that there was something on the weed. Now, yes, fentanyl can be put on weed. It is rarely done. It happens by accident pretty often. And in our country, the way that happens is they brick up bricks of weed, and then they have to get them across a border. They have to smuggle them. And the way they do that is they put it in a trash compactor and they just make 2 pounds of pot into a very small brick the size of, say, a laptop, a thick laptop. But the guy that they have to pay to smuggle that gets a much different amount of money if he's smuggling marijuana versus fentanyl, because one's going to get him in the realm of prison, it's going to get him a slap on the wrist. He might get a 3 to a 5 year sentence, right? Even if it's tons. If it's just weed, you're not getting much federal time. But if you got fentanyl in there, you could be doing life. But sometimes as they get to where they're going, so they brick it inside. They tell the guy he's smuggling weed. He doesn't know inside every brick is 2 ounces of fentanyl, right? And the 2 ounces of fentanyl is worth way more than the brick of dope that's around it. But it's a way to pay the smuggler a lot less money. Then they get where they're going and they start tearing these bricks apart. Sometimes they'll damage the bag of fentanyl and a little bit will get out into them. And if you get pure fentanyl sprinkled onto some weed, then really bad things can happen. However, my gut would tell me this, that when you start having psychotic episodes from smoking weed, very often it's these synthetic cannabinoids, because those do bring on psychotic episodes. And it is absolutely common. You know, then they work on the same receptors, everything else, but people do like to spruce up their weed with a little bit of spice or K2, and that stuff really does cause psychotic breaks. 10 pounds of weed in a 5-pound bag, says John Doe. I heard that over half of the dopamine we create naturally comes from the gut. Is this true? Makes me think how very important this, and most addicts have bad gut health. Anunnaki child, I will research that because I don't know the answer to it, and I'm not going to make that up. I don't know if that's where that is made. I hadn't heard that before. Continuing that thought of meth of the meth insidious. It leaves you chasing after a high you will never, ever get again. Carol, let me explain. Yeah, I'll finish that, my previous thought. So you do heroin, and instead of being baseline times 2, it's like baseline times 5 or 6. But when you do methamphetamine, particularly if you were to do it, say, intravenously, right? But it doesn't matter whether you're snorting it, smoking it, you're going to have your baseline of feel-good chemicals times 25 or 30. It is so much more extreme than any other one. But the first time it throws that switch, it shocks the system. You understand? So you do your first shot of methamphetamine, and the gates to the the storage lot that holds all of the dopamine get kicked open, and all of that flows out all at once. But the next time it goes to happen, the gatekeeper goes, oh yeah, they're going to release all the chemicals. We better make sure we keep a little back. So literally, that first one, that is going to be different than every other one afterwards, because your brain starts to put in its own kind of a safety valve. It doesn't see what's coming the first time, but your system learns that, oh my God, this is going to happen again. Well, we can't release everything, right? We can't release everything. But that first one, boy, that first one is something. There's no question. My fiance has bad times with weed or THC products. The only thing that settled, hold on. The only thing that settled with his system, are these THC sodas he got at a legal store. THC sodas. I wonder how those taste. Kind of doubt the laced weed explanation. Well, by laced, do you mean the fentanyl? It is this last year in the U.S., we documented 13 people that died from smoking fentanyl off of weed. And that's just in the United States. There was actually 5 kids at one sitting that died from that. Currently in the UK, there is a huge problem with synthetic cannabinoids. And very often people use these synthetic cannabinoids to make dirt weed have more punch so that they can charge more money for it, because the chemicals of the bath salt style synthetic cannabinoid chemicals that they're ordering from China, the ones that they're referring to as the J class, they all have a J in front of them because these are just numbers. They're not names. They don't say stuff like Maui, Wowie, right? It says stuff like J13682, JC1L35. They're just numbers. But they were very, very popular in prison. And I watched that stuff kill people in prison. There was one guy had his mother smuggle it into him. I went to visiting with him. I knew what was coming. Everybody on the yard knew that when his mom came, he hit, and he was in there. And we were all kind of hoping maybe there was going to be a little heroin. Sometimes she brought a little of this or a little of that, but his mom brought just the K2, the spice stuff. And he went back to his cell and smoked, and it killed him. And the messed up thing is, the next day I was in visiting in the morning. I was going in to see my ex-wife, and his mom was sitting down. She's a younger woman. She was in her 30s or 40s. And they came up to her and had a police officer and everything else with her. But we're going up to tell her that he died during the night. I can't imagine the guilt that woman lives with for the rest of her life. I can't imagine the poor woman. Sorry. They were awesome. He stopped by some places when going to a convention and got things for me. Those were almost all gone. Okay. Assume she's talking about the cannabis beverage. Really good weed these days can be pretty strong to begin with, I heard. Yes. I like the I heard at the end of that, Kathy. It almost sounded like something that I would have said, yeah, I mean, that really good weed these days can be pretty damn strong to begin with. I mean, this stuff will get you wasted. Oh, that's what I heard. I heard that. I'm kidding. I'm just busting on you, Kathy. No, the THC levels are through the roof. It's gotten absolutely incredible. Asking for a friend, says John Doe. And that pretty much was the punchline that I was going for. So when you said asking for a friend, I think you got the joke. All right, people. I don't know how long we've been rolling, but I wanted to introduce the bat symbol. We've been going a little more than an hour, so we're good. I wanted to introduce the bat system. People, if you don't want to see that reaction video and tell me whether or not you think the guy's on dope, go ahead and tell me that. Send me an email. Tell me you don't want to see it. I'll see what I can do to maybe do it over on Aaron's channel. If you want to see it over here, if you guys want to weigh in on this, if you want to hear what this guy says and you want to tell me whether or not you think he's just wasted and making up a good story, send me an email and let me know that, because you guys are going to decide which way we're going to go on this, okay? I could be here all day and not be bored, says V. I love Miss V. Alrighty, peeps. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. The cat is lazy. And therein lies the problem. Somebody just pulled up. All right. We will see you all later on the boat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. God bless you. And if you don't believe in God, God bless you.